Welcome to another edition of the Noles Podcast. I am your host, Gregory McCoy. This podcast is by a fan for fans. I am not a journalist. I am not a reporter. I am not an insider. I do not work for a website. The majority of my information comes from me, in my opinion. Other information comes from the internet. Today is January 19th, 2020, and I have a couple of different segments that I created for this episode, and I hope you enjoy it. So here goes. First up is going to be, has Florida State basketball surpassed Florida State football? And here's what I wrote about that. Has Florida State basketball surpassed Florida State football? Kinda, sorta, not really. Florida State football will always be king. We can't deny that. The success of the basketball program, you can't deny that either. I think it would take a string of several championships to overtake the football program. Even then, I don't think it would be enough. Give Leonard Hamilton credit. He has put together a pretty good program, and he's having a great season this year. And he's slowly coming out of the shadow of the football program. But we all know that if this Florida State football program ever gets rolling again, it will instantly take over as the dominant program at Florida State, if it was ever unseated as the dominant program. No disrespect to the basketball program. You're doing a great job this year. But Florida State football will always be king in Tallahassee. All right. I followed the basketball team a little bit. I'm not going to say I'm a diehard Florida State basketball fan, but I do pull for them. They are my college team. I'm not like I'm Florida State everything. So I don't flip-flop between Florida State football and, in college basketball, I'm a Duke fan. No, I don't do that. I'm Florida State everything. But to be totally honest, I really don't follow them like I used to back when I was a kid, when they had Charlie Ward and Sam Cassell and Doug Edwards and Bobby Sura and those guys. But, like I said before, Leonard Hamilton has put together a great program. I think the last time I seen it, they were 14-2. They were like number 9. They beat Virginia the last game I saw, or the last game that I actually looked at on the internet. So, hey man, kudos to the basketball program, but it would take something very, big for Florida State to ever become a basketball school. And there's only a couple of, the basketball schools, we know who they are, but the ACC as a whole is primarily a basketball league. There's only really a couple of football schools in this league: Virginia Tech, Miami, Clemson, and Florida State. So let me know what you think about that segment, and I'm going to go to the next one. Great coaching versus great players. Which matters more? And this is what I wrote about that. Great coaching versus great players. Which matters more? I have to give the edge to great players. Without great players, having a great coach is really useless, in my opinion. Don't get me wrong. Having a great X's and O's guy is paramount. But without talent, I don't think the great coach ever gets anywhere. In some cases, it's the opposite. Example, the Dallas Cowboys, talent everywhere, but their coach, he didn't do a good job. Then you have the Tennessee Titans. The player talent is okay, but the coaching is outstanding. But I still feel like great players is what makes sports go. Another example is Kawhi Leonard. Last year in Toronto, he basically lifted that team to the NBA title. I don't think there was great X's and O's in that situation either. So again, players make this thing we call sports go. You just look throughout history, man. How many great coaches have lifted mediocre talent to a championship? It's rare. It's very rare. At the end of the day, you do have to have a guy out there that knows what he's doing. You got to have a guy that can motivate. You got to have a guy that can, get these players to buy in to a system. So, it kind of works hand in hand, but, if you don't have talent, you're pretty much just going to be mediocre. So, let me know what you think about that segment. Moving on to the next segment. Does playing a hard non-conference schedule prepare you for harder teams like in the college football playoff? Let me repeat that because I fumbled. Does playing a hard non-conference schedule prepare you for harder teams? All right. And this is what I wrote about that. Does playing a hard non-conference schedule prepare you for harder teams? No doubt about it. Look at LSU, for example, one of the hardest schedules in college football history. When a team has great talent, you can't be afraid to lose. You play anybody, anywhere. I wish more teams would play harder opponents. And too much emphasis is placed on going undefeated. Losing is a part of the game. It will happen eventually. Playing cupcake teams is not a good recipe for success. They give you a false sense of security. I think that what derailed the Clemson Tigers is they faced a team that could counterpunch Ohio State and LSU, and they couldn't. Well, they overcame Ohio State barely, but they couldn't overcome LSU because, the guys across from you could punch back, and in most cases harder than you. So, when you play Wofford and Charlotte, and next year you're playing Akron and the Citadel, yeah, you'll go undefeated. You'll win the ACC championship. But, if Alabama and Ohio State and whoever else is there waiting on you, it might be the same result. So, put UCLA on the schedule. Put Baylor on the schedule. Put some hard teams on there. If it was up to me, Power 5 teams would only play Power 5 teams. Then we would know who the real contenders are and who's not. So, like I've been saying, man, take the cupcakes off the schedule, man. The Citadel, Akron, really? Even my boy, Florida State, they got Sanford on the schedule. They got Boise State in West Virginia and Florida. But, hey, take Sanford off of there, man. Last time we played Sanford, we barely won. So, maybe we need to keep Sanford on there. Well, maybe, this program's not in a place where we can say, Sanford is an easy opponent. But, I just get tired of the cupcake games, man, at the beginning of the season. They really serve no purpose other than you're writing a check to that school so you can get an easy win. That's basically all it is. So, let me know what you think about that. And I'm going to move on to the next segment. Freshman Stingley, cornerback Stingley versus Deion Sanders. Who is more dynamic? And not Deion Sanders that was in the NFL. Freshman Deion Sanders. A lot of y'all can't remember that. I can. Freshman versus freshman. Darryl Stingley Jr. versus Deion Sanders. Who is the better talent at the same point during their collegiate careers? This is one heck of a comparison. Stingley shut down half of the field against Clemson, and Trevor Lawrence didn't really try him that much. This is a Deion Sanders-like trait. I think Deion followed the best receiver his whole career. Higgins and Ross are awesome, so Stingley was pretty much covering great receivers on either side. Both guys do punt returns. I feel Deion is more explosive than Stingley in this area, and really more explosive in all areas than Stingley. I feel like Stingley is going to be a shutdown corner for a long time, but he's not on Deion's level. He's closer to Jalen Ramsey. Maybe that would have been a more favorable comparison for Stingley. But Stingley had an awesome game in the college football playoff title game, and that's why I put him against Deion in this comparison. The edge goes to prime time. Stingley is a ultra talented player, man. He's one of the best corners I've seen come out of college in a long time, and I think when he gets to the league, man, he's gonna be something very special, man. He's gonna be a top 5 pick when he comes out in 2 more years. So I can't wait to see it, and I hope maybe my 49ers get him. So let's move on to the next segment, which is going to be, can the ACC ever get on the SEC's level in football? And, I seriously doubt it. The SEC West trumps, no pun intended, the whole ACC. The SEC has too much power and influence, the likes of which the ACC will never realize. Georgia, Florida, and Tennessee in the East are heavy hitters too. Clemson can go toe-to-toe with any SEC program in any category, but until Florida State, Miami, and Virginia Tech and some other teams step it up, it's a moot point. Even then, that won't be enough. There's a lot of old money in the SEC. Old money like 1800s old money. The ACC is still a basketball conference first, football second, and the reverse for the SEC. Look, man, the SEC takes football very seriously. Okay? And we all know that these teams, these college teams, they buy players. And I feel like the only two programs that can compete with the SEC in terms of money is Oregon, because you got Nike and Phil Knight, and then Clemson somehow, some way is getting anybody they want. So it's a private billionaire investor somewhere. It's got to be, because you're not getting these players off of bowl money. There's a private investor somewhere, bro. And kudos to them. Everybody's doing it. You do what you got to do to win games. No disrespect. So let me know what you think about that segment. And my next segment is going to be, is football fashion real? All right. Is football fashion a real thing? Yes, it is. I think Deion Sanders invented this. I can't remember any player before him who was concerned about their fashion on the field. Deion always wore the air shut helmet with the octagon face mask, wristbands, neck bands. A lot of what he did filtered down to other players. Players used to tuck their jerseys under their pads to show off their abs and tuck in their sleeves to show off their biceps. This is all fashion. The different color visors players wear. OBJ had on a watch in a game. In 2019, OBJ had a watch on in 2019 in a game. Michael Crabtree got a chain ripped off his neck during the game. Even in video games, they will let you swag the players out. Now they have engravings on the thigh pads. I can only imagine what the future holds for fashion and football. Players nowadays like to stand out, in any way that they can. So whether it be the bicep bands or the wrist bands or the elbow bands or, the crazy designs on the shoes, I love it, man. I just, the more individualistic you can be, the more I love it. So Then you got the eye black when they paint, when they write stuff on the eye black under the eyes. I like that too. Back in the day, they used to put their area code on there so everybody knew where they was from. So let me know what you think about that segment. All right. Next up is going to be the top 10 best running backs during my lifetime. And this is my opinion now. Number 10, Reggie Bush. Number 9, LaDainian Tomlinson. Number 8, Thurman Thomas. Number 7, Edgerrin James. Number 6, Fred Taylor. Number 5, Warrick Dunn. Number 3, Garrison Hearst. Number 2, Marshall Faulk. Number 1, all time, in my opinion, Barry Sanders. That rushing record he got, I think it's like 2,100 and some change. I don't see nobody breaking that. No, I think it's like 2,600, right? 2,600. I don't see anybody breaking that no time soon. All right. I don't see nobody breaking that no time soon, man. So I'm just typing it in on my computer to make sure I'm quoting the right numbers. 26, 28. Yeah, ain't nobody breaking that. That is insane, man. So let me know what you think about that top 10. The next top 10 and the final category is going to be the top 10 hottest females in sports. Number 10, Molly Querim from First Take. Number 9, Sage Steele from Sports Center. Number 8, Josina Anderson from NFL Live, I think is the name of the show. Number 7, Charlie Caruso. She sometimes fills in for Molly Querim on First Take. Number 5, I hope I'm saying her name right. Charissa Thompson. Number 4, Taylor Hill, WNBA player. Number 3, Serena Williams. Number 2, Erin Andrews, NFL sideline reporter. My number 1 hottest female in sports is Skylar Diggins. All right, let me know what you think about that list. And that's going to do it for this episode. I appreciate all the support from everybody that has subscribed to this podcast. It's available on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts. If you're listening to this on YouTube, please scroll down to the description, click on one of the links, and please rate, review, and subscribe. And as always, go Noles.